1 year ago tomorrow, ironically, it was D-Day. Commissioner Jay Monahan upended the golf world by announcing what he called a framework agreement with the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which, as we know, has been financing the rival LIV Golf League. 365 days later, the final deal has yet to be consummated, despite no shortage of activity. Let's take a look at how things have unfolded since a year ago. Week after the announcement, Monahan stepped away from day-to-day duties to deal with a quote-unquote medical situation. Then in July, tour officials appeared before Congress in what at times was a contentious hearing before a Senate investigative subcommittee hearing. In August, Tiger Woods joined the PGA Tour's policy board as its sixth player director and says that he has, quote, confidence in Monahan. December, Jon Rahm, who had sternly defended the tour, about-faced and joined LIV. As the new year turned, PGA Tour announced a partnership with a private equity consortium and launched PGA Tour Enterprises. In March, Monahan and player directors, including Woods, meet with PIF Governor Yasser Al-Rumayyan in the Bahamas. And just 3 weeks ago, Jimmy Dunn, one of the original architects of the outreach to the Saudis, resigns from the PGA Tour's policy board, saying he has, quote, there has been no meaningful progress been made towards a transaction with PIF. All right, a lot of news and headlines in the game. They come and go. This topic continues, though, to defy the news cycle. And among those who've been there to cover every single twist and turn, our own Todd Lewis, who joins us now from this week's tour stop in Columbus. Todd?
Yeah, hi there, Jimmy. We've moved inside because of weather in the Dublin, Ohio area, but you could easily say that things have been stormy in the world of golf the last year. Not one PGA Tour member knew about the framework agreement until the morning of June 6, 2023. And when Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, and Yasser Al-Rumayyan, the governor of the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, showed up on CNBC to announce that framework agreement, the membership was shocked and some felt betrayed. Now, Jay Monahan has worked very hard to try to rebuild the trust of the players, but still, a year later, no deal. I talked to some players in the field here at the Memorial, and I not only asked them to reflect on the past year, but I also asked them a very important question: what they hope the golf world will look like June 6th of 2025.
Trying to project that stuff out, it's just impossible. I mean, if you'd, 8 years ago, if you'd have said, if you'd tried to project what's going on right now, there's no way you could have guessed it. But for me, it's always, it's the best players on the best courses, competing against each other. That's what it looks like for me. I know there's a lot to get to that, but that's what I've always wanted. I just want kind of all this to be done with. I want to, there's just a lot of unanswered questions or a lot of things that need to be done and taken care of that are above my pay grade in terms of trying to figure out what to do and how everything works and looks. But I mean, it's kind of always said, just getting all the best players together as often as possible and playing, however that may be, I think is the end goal for many people.
I guess just ultimately to where there maybe isn't any sort of issues between the two tours, and I feel like golf's on an upward trajectory, and I'd love for it to stay that way and really continue to be, tour to be kind of that beacon to grow the game at all levels. And, like I've said in a lot of these interviews, I'm just going to control what I can control. But I really hope that the decisions that are made are the right thing for golf.
I think a lot of us, especially with the majors and having the guys that have gone over, we obviously would really at some point want to be able to reunite. In my opinion, I would hope that that's the case. You want to have the best players in the world and see them week in, week out. And, I don't have any animosity for those guys that have gone. I think right now with the transition from, the nonprofit to a for-profit, we're still in that phase of trying to figure out the details. We're the first sports league to have the players as owners, and so we feel like we have a little bit more say in what's going on. I think when you look back and in the moment from June 6th and in the heatedness and the feelings of betrayal, or however you want to put it, by some guys. I think there's a lot of questions that are finally getting answered. Has it gone as fast as any of us would have liked? Absolutely not. But I do feel that there's going to be a solution that's going to be for the good of the game at some point, or at least the professional game. I think it's just going to take some more time, and I think a lot of guys have a lot of different views on it. We all agree that at some point we need to not just be playing together at the 4 majors. Whatever that solution is, I'll leave that up to the guys that are on the board. But so far, the biggest thing from June 6th going forward was we needed more transparency from the tour. And so far, at least in our internal discussions, we've had more answers. But we still have some questions that need to be answered, and those questions will be answered as we go, over the next, hopefully sooner than later, but probably within the next year.
For the past year, players have been mentally and emotionally stressed out, distracted on the golf course by what's happening off the golf course as well. If you had to describe their attitude right now, I would say that they are fatigued. They are tired of talking about this, thinking about this, worrying about this. If anything, they want a final outcome, and they want it very soon. Jimmy?
So, Todd, originally, if I'm not mistaken, the idea was that this framework agreement was going to be finalized by January 1st. That's 6 months ago. Any clue where we are in terms of getting this thing done?
Well, I mentioned Jay Monahan having to rebuild the trust of the players. There were a lot of emotions that had to be healed, and that was a high priority for the PGA Tour. It probably delayed the process in trying to get this deal done. But last month, the PGA Tour expanded its PGA Tour Policy Board. It also built the Board of Directors for PGA Tour Enterprises and developed committees. And maybe the most important committee is the Transaction Committee, made up of 7 members, 3 players on that committee, including those players are, Tiger Woods and Adam Scott and Rory McIlroy. Those are the people that will be sitting across the table with the Saudis to try to get this deal done. Now, I've been told by sources on the PGA Tour that there have been some very positive talks between both sides, and there will be some important face-to-face meetings in the next few weeks. So, at least right now, communication is accelerating, Jimmy.
Well, that's certainly a good thing, but still, the bottom line is we just don't know. Todd Lewis in Columbus will be checking in with you later in the show and, of course, later in the week. Thanks very much. All right, Brendan, so you heard what Todd had to say. You heard what your PGA Tour peers had to say. What are your thoughts about all of this?
Well, the overwhelming sentiment is that the players want exactly what the fans want. They want the best players to be playing against each other as much as possible on the best venues. I still don't understand how we hear from a Jordan Spieth that things are really, really progressing. Then we saw there that Jimmy Dunn had resigned because there was no progression in the talks with PIF. So it's almost like there's things coming out of both sides of everybody's mouth at the moment. We don't know. You said it. We don't really know where we stand.
You think the game is suffering?
I do. I think the game. Yes is a short answer. It is definitely suffering, purely because the fans are not getting what they want. The fans want to see the best players playing against each other, and it's not happening.